Hi everyone, I've just got a few hours at my disposal after work on a Friday. I expect there's going to be a few anglers down this evening to one of my club waters, but I've got here early enough to get a decent swim, I think. A friend of mine has been here for a couple of hours already and has said he's seen fish moving about in a particular area of this swim. So I'm going to start getting my stuff set up and see if I can catch one. Hi everyone, you join me in the shed the night before, a few hours fishing tomorrow after work. It's going to be dark, so I need to do some preparations for that. The first stage to this is to get my short session bag ready. Now this rucksack, you can see here, it's looking a little bit sorry for itself, has seen some action, I can tell you. I've had this right since I was a boy, and it's been fishing with me many times, but it's sat redundant in my shed for quite some time, unused in favour of other bigger bags and other travel systems and that kind of thing. But alas, my handy bag with attached stool has bit the dust. The straps snapped. It was clearly not particularly good quality bag. The stool is alright though, it's made of some pretty strong stuff, so the stool is going to continue to come with me, and I think and I hope that this will fit in my old bag along with everything I need to take with me. Yeah, I think that'll just about fit, so that's good. So I'm going to put some bits and pieces together to go in that bag, ready for tomorrow evening after work. First thing is going to be my small tackle box with just my bare bones in terms of end kit in. I'm going to put my rod bag and probably my brolly to one side ready to take with me, and basically travel light. I think when you've only got a few hours to spare, it's important to not make it too much of a hard work effort to get to and from the lakeside. So I'm going to try and keep it as light as I can, but as comfortable as I can. And one thing I need to find around here somewhere is my head torch, because I do not want to be getting stranded in complete darkness trying to get back to my car from the lakeside. So anyway, that's it from me in the shed. I could spend ages going through all of this stuff, but it'd bore you to death. So I'm going to get this stuff in the bag, get stuff ready to go in the car, ready for tomorrow morning, and I'll catch up with you on the lakeside. Okay, so this is my rod bag. Oh, just knocked my stool over. This is my rod bag. It's only a 3-rod light rod bag, which stashes away my 3 carp rods quite neatly. I've got a massive rod bag that carries 6 rods and all singing, all dancing, but for a short session like this, I wanted to keep the weight down as much as possible. So just got my 3-rod sleeve here, and my rods are all in there, ready to rock. So I'm going to get those out. I keep them together with some rod bands when they're in transit. It saves them from clattering around all over the place and stops with line tangles and things like that, which I find quite handy. Now we're well into November now, so the 3-rod rule has officially started on my club water. A rule which I wasn't actually as familiar with as I should have been, because I actually used 3 rods too early in the season. But now it's official, I'm allowed to, so I'm going to. And my middle rod is going to be on one of those solid PVA bags, so that's the one that I'm probably going to set up first. There we have it. 3 rods out. I'll get these made up and then I'll show you what I'm doing. Here we have it. If you haven't seen one of the videos before, then I'll just show you what I'm doing here. I've tied a figure of 8 loop in the end of my main line here, which is 15 pound mono, and I've prepared some solid PVA bags, just small ones. They've got a small snowman rig on a supple hair to a 2-ounce lead on an inline lead system with an Avid PVA bag stem here. I'm going to get a different one because that one's a little bit gunked up. There we go, I've got 3 ready tied anyway, and I'm only here for a few hours, so I'm sure that'll do me. Got a PVA bag stem, and the main line just goes through the stem, and then loop to loop style is attached to my main line. It's a safe lead, it's a running lead which detaches from the bag stem and passes easily over the small knot which I've tied there. I'm going to get this one straight out, get the alarm switched on, and then I can be fishing whilst I set the other rods up. Okay, I'm going to sort some bait out now to put out around my hook baits on my other 2 rods. And in interest of travelling light, I've just taken an old boilie bag here. What I'm going to do is use this, put some crushed boilie in, and then add some of the krill crowdy liquid to try and boost the attraction around those baits. I'm not going to use masses of bait today because it is cold, and I'm not expecting it to be a run a minute. But hopefully just enough to get the carps interested and get them to pick up my hook bait if I'm lucky. So I'm going to get started now. I'm going to crush up a few boilies in the crusher tool. I don't want to turn them into a powder, but I just want some irregular shapes that will sit on top of any debris on the bottom of the lake bed. I don't usually go to this effort of crushing boilies, but in this weather, with the cold snap, I basically need any help I can get. And hopefully you can see here, what I'm doing is just smashing those boilies up a bit, hopefully releasing some of the attraction that lives inside them. And if I'm lucky, that'll entice the fish in. So what I'm going to do is a few more crusher fulls of boilies, and then I'm just going to pour on top some of this cloudy krill liquid to try and get things going. Give you an idea. Something like that. Don't need a lot. Small amount goes a long way. What I'll do is, while I'm setting up the other rods, I'll give that a shake, let that steep for a while in that liquid, and then by the time I've got the other 2 rods in position, I'll have something ready to put out and hopefully attract a fish or 2. Okay, I've got 2 rods on the dance floor. Left hand rod out just to the edge of some dying pads, and the middle rod right out in front of me to near where I've seen a fish move. The extreme right hand rod, which I'm about to put out now, is again going to a spot just this side of some dying lily pads. The left hand rod is on a Ronnie rig with a washed out pink krill pop up on there, which has been glugged. The middle rod is on the PVA bag, which has gone into some quite choddy stuff, but given that it's a PVA bag, I think that'll probably be okay. And this right hand rod, because I've got ultimate confidence in it, is going to be the old snowman rig special. So just threading on the boilies now, the bottom baits, and then I'll pop some little pop-ups to tip these off in just a moment. And then I'll get this 3rd and final rod cast out and then sit back and relax. I've got a little bit of work to do in the form of a conference call that I have to dial into, but that should only take about half an hour, and then the rest of the evening is mine. Plan to be out here today till, well, for as long as I can stay awake, really. I haven't brought any gear with me to do an overnighter or anything like that, but maybe I'll be here till midnight if things go well and I don't get too cold. Okay, all that needs is a bait stop, but that's my snowman rig. Seen it before. I'm going to tie up some small PVA bags, just a few boilies in, just to trap that hair against the hook shank on the cast, and then I'll get this cast out and I'll be ready to rock. So I've got a rig here that's been glugging away. Hopefully that adds a little bit of attraction to the hook bait. Before I cast that out, I'm going to attach a small PVA bag, and you can see that I've tied this one with quite a long tail, and that's because I'm going to use that to help to trap the hair to the shank of the hook, hopefully stop it tangling in flight. So I'm just going to wrap that around before I hook the PVA bag on, and hopefully you can see that what that's done is trapped the hair in the position that I want it to be in, hopefully stop it from tangling around the hook when the rig lands. Well, you're not going to believe it. Perseverance has paid off, and getting out here on a cold, dark night when most other people wouldn't even bother has worked. It's resulted in a fish. Strangest take you can imagine. On my right hand rod, I was literally just about to reel the thing in for a recast before it got proper dark, and the bobbin shot up and this beauty was on there. It's a really lovely looking fish, dark, big belly. Haven't weighed her yet. Very lively still. Just taking my time here, letting the fish rest on my forearms while it flaps away for a minute. I can still feel a lot of power there, a lot of power. There she is. Hope you can see that on the camera okay. I reckon that fish is over 15 pounds, but I will get her weighed in just a moment. Really hope this is coming out on the camera. I'll get a couple of still photos and I'll put them in the video as well, just so that you can see it in all its glory, because I don't think the lighting's very good for the filming. But there she is. Lovely fish. Right, I'm going to get her weighed, and then I'll talk to you all about her in just a minute. Magic. couldn't write it, could you? Perseverance has paid off, and as I said before, I've just slipped back that fish, swam away strongly, had a lot of energy left in it, that fish, and what a glorious creature it was as well. Really beautiful dark colours, as they usually are at this time of year, so really worth the effort to get out here, and I'm really pleased I did. The fish weighed just over 16 pounds in the end, which is a good weight. I haven't caught a fish that big for a while, so I'm overjoyed and really glad I made the effort this evening. Just to recap what I'm doing, my left hand rod is on a Ronnie rig, fished to the edge of some dying pads, or dead pads I should say. The middle rod is blasted out straight in front of me towards the far bank. That's on a solid PVA bag filled with some crushed krill pellets and boilies and crumb and what have you. And that's got a little snowman rig on a supple hair. And my right hand rod, which is the rod that went, is on my trusty old snowman bottom bait rig, which has caught me more fish than any other rig. Now, it's probably because I've used it more than any other rig, but I have got supreme confidence in that rig, and tonight just goes to show that that's for a good reason. It was the strangest bite you can imagine, really. I was literally just about to reel that rod in for a recast before full dark descended upon us. And just as I was about to pick up the rod, literally a second earlier, and I wouldn't have caught that fish, but just as I was about to bend down to pick up the rod, the bobbin shot up, and some line started to tick away off the reel, and I picked up and I was into that fish. I don't think it even knew it was hooked until it got quite close to the bank, and then it really gave a good account for itself. In and out of the net a couple of times, some hairy moments there, but in the end, she was mine, and I've caught one. Fantastic. So all three rods are now back where I want them to be. I baited with that crumbed boilie, glugged in the, doused in the krill liquid. To be honest, it's a bit too dark for me to get any more bait out now, so it really is quite a small amount of bait out there. But there are fish about, and there might just be a chance of another one before I have to pack it up. Magic. It's got to be time for a little celebratory one of these. Haha. Thought I might just take a moment to show you the camera equipment that I use for all of my fishing sessions, as well as my mobile phone, which is an amazing resource for making these videos and taking still shots when the light is good. I always bring my decent camera along as well, for when the lighting isn't so good, or for when I catch something really special, I want a decent shot of it. It's a proper digital SLR camera, but didn't break the bank, and probably are quite affordable now because it's getting on a bit, but it still does a cracking job, and I'll show you what I use. Here it is. As I say, it's a digital SLR camera, a Canon EOS 1200D. I use a tripod. Sorry, the lighting's really bad here, but I use a tripod. My rag at the bottom of the tripod there, and the camera sits on top of there really nicely. It's got plenty of features for those who really like adjusting their camera settings and what have you, but generally it does a pretty good job on the automatic setting, to be honest, and has always taken a good photo for me. I also use, I don't know if you can see this properly on the camera here, but plugged into the side I've got a remote shutter release, which is currently just hanging on the frame of the tripod there. But this remote shutter release, I'll show you here, I've got it wrapped in plastic to keep it safe from getting wet, allows me to hold the fish and then press this button to release the shutter and take the photograph. But this thing has always done a fine job for me. If I turn it on, show you some of those pictures that I captured of that fish. Not getting a great view of that in this particular light situation, but one or two of those are decent images, and hopefully you will have already seen a couple of those in this particular video. But that's what I use, a Canon EOS 1200D, and it does everything I need it to. There are better cameras out there, I'm sure, but this one is just the job for me. It's got a decent flash on it as well for low light level pictures. So there she is. I've got the lens cap on here, and I try to keep that on all the time when the camera's not in use, because when you're out in the wilds, I suppose, in nature, it's all too easy for that lens to get scratched, and once that happens, you know, your photos are never going to be as good again. So look after your kit. And I've got a bag here which I keep the camera in whenever it's not in whenever it's in transit, whenever I'm moving things around. Again, just trying to keep it as safe as I can, but that's what I use anyway. Right, it's about time for a bit of dinner. I kept it simple today because I've packed really light. I've just got a can of soup, which is beef and vegetable flavour, chunky soup. I've got my pan, and I've got my little gas stove here. It won't take long to heat this up. Nice to have something warm on a cold evening. Let's get that stove going. After eating my soup and having a nice relaxing time sitting, watching and listening to the water, hearing one or two fish crash out now and again, but not lots of activity by any stretch of the imagination, I, alas, did not get any more runs, no more bites. But you know what? I'm so glad I made the effort, so glad I went out there and caught myself that fish. And I'll be back on the bank again just as soon as I can. Thanks for watching.